If I'm not mistaken, Calvin Sandeen would be next on the agenda. Are you?
Hey, everyone.
There we go. Thanks, Calvin.
So I mean, I have about 15 minutes of material.
I'm here.
No, that's okay. Please go ahead. And those that need to, go away at noon as our schedule allowed, please feel free. Thank you all for those that have to do that. Otherwise, Calvin, I'm all ears. I've got my typewriter ready, or my computer keyboard ready.
Okay. I think it's good material. So I'll start off with first, I'm Calvin Sandeen. I am a broadband analyst with the Sonoma County Economic Development Board. And I primarily work on broadband expansion projects for Sonoma County, but I also manage the Sonoma Mendocino Economic Development District. So I'll kind of provide an update on both ends in regards to broadband, starting with my county work. So we have been working on, through Sonoma County, similar planning efforts to the work Tom West has been working on in Mendocino County. Part of our work plan were two items. One was to create a broadband assets mapping tool that took into account all of the assets that kind of the county had available to it, but also a tool that internet service providers could use for assisting with design and engineering or broadband deployment projects. So that tool is in development, and I can show you a little brief draft of it in a few minutes. But another part of our work plan was to create a broadband business plan for the county. And that's a follow-up to our broadband strategic plan, which we created, which had one of the recommendations for the county to look at the creation of a public broadband entity that could essentially deploy its own infrastructure and services to the community. So that was the rationale, and we moved forward using part of our funding to hire Magellan to do some of this work. So as we were going through the process of working with Magellan and trying to brainstorm how to do this, we realized that this creating a broadband business plan, similar to a business plan for any other new initiative or business, is a lot of work. It requires all the various components required for business plan: market analysis, financials, design and engineering, or whatever your product is. All of these components, which is an extensive effort. And so, especially for a county-wide effort, we found that it was going to require a lot more resources and time than we had available through the funding that we had pursued with Magellan. And so this broadband business plan transitioned more into an action plan of setting us up for exactly what we need to do in order to create this business plan. So it's providing a foundation for what's going to be the cost to produce the business plan. What are kind of going to be our focus areas of this business plan? So Magellan is in the process of creating that, but just to highlight some of the components of what the action plan will include are it's breaking it up into phases, and it's all phased. The outcome goal is connecting our unserved communities. And so the project is broken up into phases. Phase one is looking at using existing assets that the county has available to use, including existing conduit network through various assets, which includes Wiltel assets that were, when Wiltel went through the bankruptcy, the county struck a deal in the cities to acquire that conduit. And then we also have assets available through the smart rail bed, conduit and fiber, which we're looking at. And then additional assets, including county communications towers, and then other opportunities with the undeveloped rail bed as it goes north. And we're looking at using that phase one to create a county backbone, which would essentially provide us access to a conduit system and gateway to reach the nearest data center for the county or this new broadband entity to pull fiber through and get its own backhaul or its own backbone to get backhaul at more affordable pricing. And so the next phases would essentially branch out from that backbone to reach the unserved communities and looking for innovative opportunities for deployment for middle mile and last mile. And we have done, similar to, and that would require mostly new construction. And similar to Tom's work, as we discovered, it's going to be really expensive for us to do fiber and underground. So right now I'm currently trying to brainstorm alternative ways to lower that overhead cost of the middle mile new construction. And a couple avenues I'm looking at is one, and this was identified also in Mendocino County's digital infrastructure plan, was looking at finding a way for the county to get a master license agreement with PG&E to go aerial, if that is but also to address the county's resilience plans. I don't know about Mendocino County, but in Sonoma County, PG&E has been very persistent on the clearing the tree or clearing the vegetation around the poles and the lines. And they've been replacing a lot of their old poles with new poles. And so that's one of the big costs to new deployment is a lot of providers most of the time have to go and replace the poles because they're so antiquated. But PG&E is doing a lot of work to replace those poles, so they should be able to last for the next few decades. And I think, I hope that they are persistent on replacing them when they need to. And then also maintaining the lines. So that kind of addresses the resilient factor. But if we could somehow get that partnership with PG&E, I've started discussing with them and they're interested in working with us. But if there's an opportunity for the county as a public entity to get pole rental space at a discounted rate of some sort or as a public benefit. Another approach I'm looking at is using the existing county communications towers and other towers to essentially eliminate or replace the need to deploy a wireline middle mile backhaul route to reach those last mile communities. And it would stem from if this new broadband entity was to get backhaul from fiber along the 101 corridor, then it could essentially transmit that backhaul or maximize the bandwidth to each of those existing towers and antennas, and from those towers distribute a local area fiber network to the unserved communities. So it would kind of be switched over rather than having fiber backhaul going to the tower and then transmitting it fixed wireless to the homes. We'd be doing a fixed wireless middle mile backhaul route from the 101 fiber backbone. And then from there, we would branch out with a resilient fiber network to the homes. And so that would possibly eliminate our need for a middle mile wireline network, but also kind of address the resilient factor because counties are very persistent on maintaining these sites. At the same time, we could, as a public entity, maximize the amount of bandwidth going to those antennas. So those are just two approaches I'm looking at on phase 2 and 3 of how to make it more cost effective to expand into the rural areas using existing county assets. And so we've done this work, and just to show you what I mean with the towers, I'm going to share my screen real quick if that's okay. Let me make sure I have the right one. You Can you see my screen right here?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the mapping tool that we created, or it's under development, but all these little dots, click off this one. These are what I understand to be county communications towers in Sonoma County. And then these are also other cellular infrastructure that we have throughout the county. So you can see that with the existing assets, there are a lot in the rural areas. And from from here, the 101 backbone, we get backhaul from 101, and then you transmit that backhaul to this tower, or this tower, and then the communities that are adjacent to there, you could deploy that fiber network locally. And then at the same time, address the redundancy issue and create these redundant loops like hops between each tower. But then this tool also, there are other applications with this tool. You can look at view sheds to see which towers have view to which ones. This is Pole Mountain, this is Moonraker, this is Seaview Ridge, Oak Ridge, Mount Jackson. So I think this is a valuable tool that Mendocino could also potentially look at and start documenting its assets, especially the cellular. And then it looks at other opportunities like, county facilities that could potentially benefit from connectivity, smart railroad. It shows where the fire perimeters are so that when we're deploying, to make sure you do it resilient infrastructure. We have some of the CAF2 areas in here to show you where federal funding is going.
That's
Future paving projects, in case you want to do dig once, provider goes in here and they're like, hey, I want to lower the overall cost. Let's go install conduit in this section with the county. And then if you wanted to do a fiber deployment project and you wanted to look at all of the addresses or the homes, you could essentially click this, and I'm sorry, I'm using a hotspot, so my service isn't the best, but you have the public available addresses. You have also building footprints, and you have drop lines. Let's see if I can do a zoom and this at the same time. But say you started at this cell tower right here. Again, this map is not perfect. Say you wanted to start here. You have, this accounts for the drops to each home, and you can click the street. So you see, okay, here's this tower. Here are the streets. I want to deploy a fiber network along this Bodega Highway. And then from here, these are the drops to essentially each structure. Granted, this can be one property, so it's accounting for, a line going between each of the building structures. But from here, you can go to this, where is it? You can go to this tool, which